Hey YouTube, Blue Spruce 786 here. We were talking about organization of your DM toolkit and the deck of many things, and I started to think about inspiration. A lot of my material is sort of handcrafted. I've been at it a while, so I got a pretty good accumulated mass of that sort of stuff. You don't need all that. What you bring to the table that's far more significant is your own self, your own experiences, and those you can ramp up pretty quickly. My father worked in the woods. He cut trees down, he logged them. I went in and worked with him since I was very little. I saw some horrifying things, quite frankly. Men got hurt, things got damaged. It was dangerous there. It was cold sometimes and wet. And having that experience, that comes to the table with me. When I explain, what it's like when someone has been hurt, I've seen it. So there's a little tinge of something more realistic there. I joined the Navy right out of high school, and that was 6 years where I traveled all over. I saw some interesting things there as well. And again, you bring this sort of thing to the table with you. And I started thinking, well, I'm older, I've got some life experience. You're just starting out. Where do you get this life experience from? You're telling stories, and those stories need to have a foundation, a base from which to draw from. Even if you're not, using the plot or the characters or whatever, just the little nooks and crannies and all the pieces that you fill in. This is your paint, these experiences. Have you ever been to a prison? I've never been to a prison. Maybe you could call the prison and ask if they have tours. You're with the Boy Scouts or you're with your school. Don't tell them that Blue Spruce 786, the guy from the internet, sent you down. To tell him Don Forge Cast sent you. He's a teacher. That'll carry a lot more weight. Probably get you in the doors quicker. But so maybe to a prison or a place where people work hard. Outside. Green waste yards, where they dump all the leaves and the trees and whatnot and grind that stuff up. Those guys drink beer all day and drive around in heavy machinery and grind this stuff up. They're a pretty rough crew. Go down and dump some leaves off and hang out and chat with them for a little while. Ask if you can see the equipment, bring your camera, take some pictures. They like the attention, most people do. Old quarries, shipyards, any industrial center, an old factory. These places all have stories within them. There's hooks right there. There's an environment that will sort of leach into your soul, and it's that you want to carry with you to the table. That brings a lot of stories with it. So those are some things you could do. The VA, actually, there's a VA right down the road here. It's a long-term care facility, and it's one of the centers for, what's it called when people forget things and they get older? Alzheimer's disease, right? It's a long-term care facility for people with Alzheimer's. But there's some old stories there, old World War II vets. These guys would love it if somebody stopped by and said hello. And what you're going to get from that is, again, this sort of exposure to something that you haven't seen before. So much of what we bring and carry and talk about, it comes from popular culture. It comes from the internet and television and these books that we buy, these products that are for sale. And it's very important to remember that this is all marketable material. And that means that it's been designed to appeal to a lowest common denominator. It's not necessarily the most interesting material out there. It's just paste. It sort of covers a wide audience. That's really what it is out there. So it's been sanitized, mass-produced, crunched up by some marketing engineer. That's the stuff you buy. You want to get outside of that. Go to libraries, old libraries or old town halls where they've got these old records and old photos even hanging up. There's some good stuff there. I live in the Northeast. There's a lot of apple orchards here. The old barns where they used to make apple cider, those places are still around. They don't use these old presses anymore, but the presses, they didn't dismantle them. They're still there. And that's kind of another interesting tour that you can take and see something that's real, that hasn't been, as I said, sanitized, so to speak, like at a museum or in a product that you might buy. Where else could someone go? Cemeteries? I love to tour cemeteries. Take rubbings, you get some lightweight paper and a big crayon or whatever, and you take rubbings of the stones. We used to do that as kids. And speaking about being a kid, I was lucky. My mom was a bibliophile. We had all these amazing books around the house. I wanted to talk about a few of those right here, because you don't see these for sale so much. You might be able to find some on the internet, but I don't think you're going to go to B. Dalton and pick one up. Is B. Dalton even still a bookstore? Oh, that's funny. The big one there is the Webster's 20th Century Unabridged, second edition dictionary. The definitions in there are not the definitions that are in a current dictionary or something you're going to find online. The lens through which the people that wrote this book viewed the world is very different. It's in a way more clear, I think, than the lenses we use today. The English is older. The sentence structure is more complex. It's different, but still accurate. And so when you bring the precision of those old words with you to the table, it's another way to evoke the past, to bring about images of something that used to be and something that people haven't quite been exposed to yet. Here's another great one. This was Mom's coffee table book, The Whale. It's about whaling. There's a lot of bloody pictures of whales in here. There's a lot of stories about how, whales lived at the edge of the map. They were monsters and went after ships. There's these wonderful icons all through it. So next time you're at a bookstore, a used bookstore, an old library, kind of look around and see if you can't find something like this in a bin underneath all the other stuff, or look on eBay. Again, the older material, I'd say anything pre 1982, be about the latest material. That's when you started to see the real shift in writing and marketing. But this stuff is much more raw. Yeah, this poor old whale here. But that really happened. This was a livelihood for a lot of people back then. And it's important to remember that. They didn't do this to the whale because they were spiteful or they hated the whale. They did this to survive. Blood was just part of day-to-day life then. Oh my God. 8 minutes and 22 seconds already. I babble on and on. Here's another good one. This one you might find at a library. This is the Department of the Interior, a study on Native American and indigenous people. Of course, I got it upside down. And this is from about 1880, 1881 or something. Another old book Mom picked up somewhere. Yeah, Washington, 1881. Here's these old plates and these things. You don't see illustrations like this anymore either. The little boy. We had a doll like this on the wall. I wonder whatever happened to that. I'm quite sure Mom put it away. I bet you it was worth a few bucks if you looked around for it. I noticed on Samwise' site he was talking about a Midwest campaign he was running. And I love the illustrations that he used on his character sheets. It was going to be a one-off for a convention or something. Old Pueblo building here. But those were appropriate character pictures. And even if you're not running a Western campaign, those faces, the clothing they wore, the way they took the picture, it speaks volumes of who these characters were. And you might want to incorporate something of that into your world. I love J.R. Tolkien. Tolkien was a brilliant, brilliant man. This is by Ursula Le Guin. It's a Wizard of Earthsea trilogy. This is book 3. I think I'm on 2 right now, and 1 is still up on my bookshelf. This is a little bit different as far as fantasy. If you want a little bit more of an alien take on dragons, wizards, and a fantasy world, I can highly recommend this. Check that out, Ursula Le Guin. She's an old science fiction writer. You can check out. She's got some beautiful maps online. I saw them on the images. Just look up Earthsea, and her handwritten maps are posted here and there. Here's the way things work. This is another good one, old 70s book with these old line diagrams. I don't know if you guys have seen Tolden's Water Wheel, but that's probably where I picked up not the idea, but the techniques of drawing that sort of thing. You don't have to be an amazing artist either. Cut stuff out, photocopy things, smash it together, and I've recommended looking at scrapbooking sites before. The thing about scrapbooking, it's art that's designed for people who are not talented as visual artists. And all of the tools and the ideas that are part of that hobby support that. So you don't have to be Rembrandt or David Macule. I can never pronounce his name. This was an awesome book too. Every great chess player was once a beginner. There's the beginning chess player. There's the king. He's scared. There they all are. All those pieces. But again, you don't see illustrations like this so much anymore. Everything now has been a little bit more streamlined. And I think that's just what I wanted to speak to about the importance of seeing these old images and incorporating them into your life and exposing yourself to things that you might not instantly consider to be relevant to fantasy role-playing or any kind of role-playing for that matter. But the weight of character that comes with you and you bring to the table is very much influenced by all the little unconscious parts of your mind. So do your best to cultivate that and make it a practice in your life to seek out things that are not quite in the mainstream. It's a little bit more interesting, a little bit more engaging, and it will certainly set you apart as a storyteller when you're at the head of a table or running a character, either or. Okay, 13 minutes. I think I'm going to wrap this one up, and wow, that might be a single take. Imagine that. And thanks everyone for comments and questions. I really appreciate that. Again, I'm having a great time with this. It's a lot of fun, and the more of these I do, the easier it gets. So thank you, and I will talk to you later.